Warpugs, you might notice there's something a little bit different in the background. Just a little bit different. There's a reason behind that. It's gotten cold outside. And so, we've had to do some rearranging around here. Just a little bit of rearranging. And I saw this up from Max Miller. And this is a little bit of older video, but this says this is the history's fluffiest dessert. It's the everlasting Syllabub. I don't know. But I figured I might as well get my own food critic in here. Everybody, this is Food Critic Buns. Food Critic Buns has his own opinions about everything. And Food Critic Buns does not care about anything. Look into his eyes. This is Fluffy. He is the destroyer of worlds. And he does not care about your simple concepts such as morality. No, not at all. Food Critic Buns, please be gentle with Max. We bought it. We got his book. Look at this. Warpugs, I have issues. Don't I have issues? Do I have issues? Okay, Food Critic Buns is back in his little thing. Warpugs, we're gonna get into this with Max Miller. We brought in the rabbit. It was too cold out there. It was getting really cold out there. Today was the first day. It was like negative, well, not negative. It was 30 degrees outside, so it's like, yeah, we got to get him inside. So that's why I have all these bags in here. A little bit of internal redesign, Warpugs, but he's happy, and he's going to be in a couple more videos until, well, it gets warmer outside. Let's get into it.
Everlasting Syllabub.
We're already in.
Now you probably think that sounds like a silly-sounding sweet, synonymous with supercilious superficiality, but you would be wrong.
Somebody chose extra this morning.
It is a very serious dessert.
Yes!
Syllabub is so serious that Samuel Pepys wrote of it in his diary. He went to Commissioner Pett's house after his sermon at church and had a Syllabub, and saw his closet, which comes short of what I expected, but there was fine models of ships in it indeed, whose worth I could not judge of.
Uh-huh.
Very serious stuff.
Yes.
But super serious as this Syllabub sounds, I'm going to teach you how to make this sweet, frothy dessert which became popular in the 16th century.
Okay.
Though back then, Syllabub was a drink, and it was made of wine, cream, and lemon juice. The cream would curdle as it was frothed, and then when poured into a glass, the wine would separate and go to the bottom, and then that kind of frothy cream would be on top, so it looked a little bit like a root beer float, I guess. And when you sipped it, you got some of both. But as the centuries went on, they removed some of the wine, not all, but some of it, and added a lot more sugar, which stabilized it, so that when it was poured, it didn't separate. And thus, in the mid-18th century, we have everlasting Syllabub.
Oh!
So, today, in the most serious way possible, I'm going to teach you how to make everlasting Syllabub.
Super serious, Warpugs.
This time, on Tasting History.
Yes!
Now, one thing about this recipe is it is so easy. I mean, so easy. It takes like no time, and there's no cooking. There's no actual cooking involved. It's just you mix the ingredients, you whip them up, and you got yourself some Syllabub.
I am of the opinion that ramen is actually cooking, because it involves 3 steps. If there's 3 steps in the process, that means it's cooking.
So the recipe that we're using today...
I'm sorry, what?
Look up something called Ramen Bay. I'm gonna order some of it. It's all the good shit that you put in ramen to make it fancy.
She just starts talking like I'm not recording.
Maybe they wanted to know about Ramen Bay too.
Maybe. If you want to know about Ramen Bay, let me know in the comments down below. She's over there hanging out with my cat.
She loves me more than you.
That caused me extreme amounts of pain that I'm not going to show. Back to Syllabub.
Today comes from the 1747 book, The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy by a lady. That lady was named Hannah Glass, and we'll come back to her later on.
Cool.
Anyway, her recipe says, to make everlasting Syllabub, take 5 half pints of thick cream, a half pint of sack, the juice of 2 Seville oranges or lemons, grate in just the yellow rind of 3 lemons, and a pound of double refined sugar, well beat and sifted.
Okay.
Mix all together with a spoonful of orange flower water, beat it well together with a whisk half an hour, then with a spoon, fill your glasses. That is a wonderfully specific recipe for the mid-18th century.
Yeah?
It has timing, it has every ingredient, doesn't leave anything out, which they often do, and it has exact measurements. It's unbelievable for the time that it comes from.
Okay.
That said, Ms. Glass must have been extremely popular because that's going to make enough for like 50 people. So we're going to cut this in half.
Okay.
And still have a ton of Syllabub. Now before you get your hands busy making that Syllabub,
I am stupidly jealous of his hair.
make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So what you'll need is 1 1/4 pint or 590 milliliters of heavy cream.
Okay.
Now that conversion is done off of the US pint because that was actually closer to what would have been used in England in the mid-18th century. They switched to the imperial pint later on, but this was the British pint, which is pretty much the same as the US pint.
Okay.
1/2 pint or 120 milliliters of sack. Now you're probably not going to be able to find sack wine. Sack referred to a whole host of different wines that were somewhat sweet, usually a lighter dessert wine. So what I'm using is, and if you can find it, it's fantastic on its own. And you want something of good quality because, like I said, we're not cooking this, so you're going to be able to taste that wine. So don't cheap out on me.
Okay.
White port is amazing.
My wife's the wine person in the house. I think I've drank maybe one glass of wine in my life, but she actually has her own preferences.
Not always the easiest thing to find, but you could also use a drier Riesling, nothing too sweet, or even a sherry will work, mid-level sweet. Anyway, but if you haven't tried white port, get some white port because it's awesome. Then the juice of 1 orange. Now, if you have a Seville orange, like she said, great, but, you know, who does? I think I have a California orange, so that's what I used.
There you go.
It was really quite nice.
Yay!
The zest of 1 large lemon or 2 small lemons. So if you're using like a Meyer lemon, which would be perfect, you'll probably want 2 because they're a little bit smaller, but it's kind of up to you.
Okay.
1/2 pound or 227 grams of powdered sugar and 1 teaspoon of orange flower water. Now you're going to be
I have never even heard of orange flower water until just now.
tempted to use more than a teaspoon, and you can use maybe a little bit more, but orange flower water, as nice and light as it sounds, it's actually quite bitter, so you don't want to use too much of it.
Okay.
Now before we start, I want to point out that Ms. Glass says that you're going to be whipping this Syllabub by hand for a half hour. They usually would have used like a birch whisk. And, you know, be my guest, have at it. But there is no shame in using a machine, an electric mixer.
Yeah.
Because just a few years after publishing her book, Dr. Stephen Hales invented a machine that made things go a lot faster, specifically for Syllabub. It was a tube of tin with a box of the same at the lower end of it that is full of small holes. This engine, with the help of a pair of bellows, blows up cream into Syllabub with great expedition. So if Dr. Hales could use his
literally built something to make this stuff faster. I can appreciate that level of dedication. I really can.
Syllabub engine, I think you're okay to use either a stand mixer or a hand mixer.
Yeah.
So now get ready for the easiest recipe ever.
Cool.
Add your sugar and cream to a bowl and mix on medium until the sugar has dissolved. Then you're going to add your orange juice. Now, if you squeezed your orange juice, you could probably want to strain it because there's going to be a lot of pulp in there.
Yeah.
You don't want too much pulp. You're already going to have the lemon zest. So we want as few solid ingredients as possible.
Cool.
Then with the mixer still going, add the lemon zest, the orange flower water, and the wine. Then get ready to either whisk for a half hour by hand, or if you're using your electric mixer, it should take you a few minutes. So you're going to mix on high until it becomes like whipped cream. You don't want to go too far because then it'll turn into like butter. It's just not going to be the same, but you want it nice and fluffy until it can hold a nice stiff peak.
Okay.
So while you're whisking, I am going to geek out over Hannah Glass's The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy.
Do it! And I am going to take this time to remind you guys that Tasting History of Max Miller has put out a book. And if you guys would like, go down to the description below and get yourself some. Get yourself some food. I will tell you guys that I have been waiting to basically get my hands into this thing, because there is another recipe for everlasting syllabub in here. Right there. Right there. This might actually be the same one. I don't know. Let's get back into it.
Now, one thing that made this cookbook so special and worked so well was that Hannah Glass wrote it with female servants in mind, which was a fairly new concept. And I'm sure she didn't mean it in a condescending way, but I'm kind of in love with one of her opening statements about why she wrote the book the way that she did.
Okay.
She says, "To the reader, if I have not wrote in the high, polite style, I hope I shall be forgiven, for my intention is to instruct the lower sort.
Oh, thank you.
And therefore must treat them in their own way. For example, when I bid them lard a fowl, if I should bid them lard with large lardoon, then they would not know what I meant. But when I say they must lard with little pieces of bacon, they know what I mean. So in many other things in cookery, the great cooks have such a high way of expressing themselves that the poor girls are at a loss to know what they mean." I just love that. It's condescending.
Yes, it's massively condescending. Jesus.
But it worked. It actually worked, and it became an instant bestseller, and it stayed in print for over a century with over 40 different editions all over the world. It became like the English-speaking world's cookbook. I mean, different editions would add and subtract things based on when they were made, but also where they were made, whether it was in America. It was actually very popular with, like Ben Franklin had a copy, and Thomas Jefferson had one in his kitchen. It's amazing. But it had one of the first recipes for Yorkshire pudding. It had one of the first recipes for something called Hamburg sausages, aka hamburgers.
Yay.
That was in the American version. And it has one of the first recipes to make a curry the Indian way. I mean, that's kind of a staple of English cuisine now. You can get Indian-style curry pretty much everywhere. It's such a staple of English cuisine that I think it would actually be a very cool recipe to do on the show and do a little bit of history about how Indian food came to England. What I will not be doing, though I would kind of love to, is one of her recipes for chocolate. And it's because in addition to some really interesting ingredients like musk and pepper and aniseed, it also calls for ambergris, which is a solid, flammable substance found in the digestive tract of sperm whales.
Say what?
And I've called every Trader Joe's in town, and no sperm whale ambergris.
No.
So, but sperm whale innards aside, the book was a watershed for the home cook. Her easy conversational style was just a breath of fresh air for cookbooks in that day and age. She gave the reader permission to not take cooking so seriously as so many books did before this. After giving meticulous details about how to make several dishes in one chapter, she finishes it with, "You must do just as you like it." That's wonderful.
There you go.
Now, there were really just two major critiques when the book came out and in the years following. One being that people just refused to believe that she wrote it. People refused to believe that a lady wrote it. Because in the words of Samuel Johnson of dictionary fame, women can spin very well, but they cannot make a good book of cookery.
Really?
Clearly, he never met Julia Child or the two fat ladies, but what?
Julia Child would be disappointed at him.
Whatever. The other criticism had a little bit more merit, and that was that the book had an extreme anti-Galatian prejudice. But even when she was hating on the French, she said it in such a cool way.
One cannot hate on the French enough.
If gentlemen will have French cooks, they must pay for French tricks. A Frenchman in his own country would dress a fine dinner of 20 dishes and all genteel and pretty for the expense he will put an English lord to for dressing one dish. I have heard of a cook that used 6 pounds of butter to fry 12 eggs when everybody knows, that understands cooking, that half a pound is full enough, or more than need be used. But then it would not be French. So much is the blind folly of this age that they would rather be imposed on by a French booby than give encouragement to a good English cook.
She's catty.
Isn't that amazing? That is sick burn.
She's catty.
Burn Hannah Glass. But you know what cannot burn is our Syllabub because we're not cooking it.
Oh.
But you should be done whisking it by now.
Yes.
So once you're done whisking, if you're not going to serve the Syllabub right then, put it into the refrigerator so it really holds its shape. Otherwise, if you are going to serve it right then, just spoon it into a glass as Miss Hannah says. And really any glass is going to work for this. Back in the day, they had special Syllabub glasses, tall and fancy, but I don't have those, so I'm just using a little martini glass, but you can use whatever you have. Wine glass works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do what you gotta do.
Okay, here we go. I'm super excited. It is beautiful. It just looks so fluffy.
Yeah.
And wonderful. And you know, I garnished it because I'm fancy with a little orange rind and some mint, but you don't
As one does, my man. As one does.
need a garnish. You can garnish it with whatever you want. Let's try it. It's so, you can hear it, like the little air bubbles just popping. Okay. Okay. This, if you're not making this, shame on you. It is hot out. It is summer. This is like, it's so light and fluffy, and you can really taste the orange. And that's why you definitely don't want to do too much of that orange flower water, but it's there. But
I gotta look that
also
up.
Taste the wine, and it's just so soft and this would actually go really well also like on some berries or another dessert. Oh, you could actually put it onto like some pie or cake that doesn't have a very strong flavor, like even just like a chocolate cake, very like a neutral chocolate cake. Put some of this on top, like an orange chocolate cake. That's Make this. If you're not making this, no excuses. This was the easiest recipe ever. No excuses. Go make this, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Yes. Okay, seriously, so let me take a look in here, because I honestly think he put one of these in here. He doesn't normally do that, and not that I've seen so far, but I could be stupid, which would not surprise any of you who have been with this channel for any amount of time whatsoever. I thought it was 117. There it is. 97. Page 97. Yes, the British Age. Yes. Mead. I've never had mead. Not once.
Me?
Yes!
Oh, I love it.
Okay, Syllabub. There it is, right there. Let's see. Yep, there it is, right there. There's the recipe right there. There we go, right there. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. All right. So we have it. We have it right there. And, oh my God, that's gonna work. That's gonna work. War Pugs, we're gonna give that a shot. You can actually see it right there. Ain't that something? 10 minutes cook time. War Pugs, get yourself a book, okay? Learn to read. Anyhow, I'm gonna head out of here. Guys, let me know if you try this. If it's awesome, let me know. On behalf of me and Corporal Buns, who is currently hiding out. There he is. You good? Later, War Pugs.